3985 to come back off past
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole...
My great aspiration, my greatest ambition is to be so good. Now, in that way, I'm tiresome, as I suppose, to live with, because I want to be a fantastic human being.
I am the greatest. We're not disputing that, Cassius, but how does Sonny Liston feel about it? He can't feel but one way, and let's take everything I say and like it. Because February the 25th, I'm going to take back my job. I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a tramp.
When you see men fall, don't laugh. Learn. Learn. Because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation.
Hey, what's going on, good people? Peace and blessings. What's the word? What's the word? What's the word? Hey, Tuesday down, 3 days to go. A lot of conversation to have. Shout out to the viewers. Shout out to the panel. I hope all is well with everybody here. Before we get into tonight's conversation, thoughts and prayers go out to Anna. There's a few more people on my prayer list right now. A lot is going on, and we got to be mindful of that sometimes. This particular year just seems different, a lot different than prior. I can't really pinpoint it, but it's something particularly different about 2025. Nonetheless, I appreciate you all hanging out. We about to have us a good show tonight, and it's going to be hanging out with us in the comment section. Y'all already know the energy over there. To the viewers, do me a solid. Like, share, repost this out. Let the people know we on. I got Jason in the building. I got Sydney in the building. You already know where this is going. I got us a video to react to. I think that's where we're going to start the show off with first before we get into the actual topic. I'm going to let them come up, do their thing. Matter of fact, real quick, I almost forgot. Shout out to my poets, my writers, my content creators. You know I got to give it up. Damn, what was I about to say? Friday, the Attic Virtual Open Mic. Anybody who is interested in joining, hit me up. I'm not on IG or I'm not on any of my apps right now. I'm just strictly recording, uploading that. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all need to reach out to me, you can hit me up. here. I thought I had it up. I don't know why I went down, but yeah, this is where I will be at, just in case you want to connect with me. You know what I'm saying? That being said, let me go ahead and get Sydney and Jason up here so we can get the show rolling. Yep.
The Botox face. Hi, how are you? I don't have close. Did you notice?
Maniacal excitement. I am so glad to be here.
Oh my god.
What's good? What's good, man? What's the word? How everybody feeling today?
Feeling great. Feeling good, feeling fine, feeling better than before.
Excellent. How's your book going?
That's what.
Well,
book sales. I mean.
Oh, book sales.
Yeah.
Well, I actually just started getting on the podcast circuit, so I'm going to be doing a lot of promotions. So far, not surprise, no one knows about me, so no one knows about my book. So I need to get myself out there. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You should go ahead and take the time out right now. Go ahead and do your plug, man.
Okay, well, my book is called The Leading Man, a practical guide for men to lead with strength and vision. And it's all about helping men reclaim their masculinity, help them grow into the men that they were always meant to be. Men, you are meant to be leaders. And the only way that you can do that is if you understand what it means to truly be a masculine man. It has nothing to do with this alpha shit or anything like that. It's all about understanding how you present yourself and how you move, how you interact with others. And then really that's what this book is all about. It teaches you how to identify the wounded emotional state that many men live in that keep them from being appropriate leaders, the behaviors that help to promote that negative behavior, and also how to escape it. This is the first part of the book. It's already from the gate. It really goes into helping you understand where you might be failing, not because of any fault of yours, but because of how life and how you have been raised, how that's created this dynamic to set you up for failure. So after that, it goes into how do you create and how do you sustain the positive behaviors necessary that demonstrate your ability to lead, and then how do you experience that? How do you apply it practically in your life, both in your mind, in your behaviors, and in your interactions? So if you're interested in understanding how to do this, how to become a man that people want to follow because you are a natural leader, go to relatum.com. You can either take the free quiz to understand your personality archetype, or you can just go ahead and jump on down, scroll down a little bit, and find the book.
Just like that. And I want to say too, it's worth it. I guarantee you, it's absolutely worth it. I just finished wrapping it up. You know what I'm saying?
Did you?
I did. I meant to hit you up about this, but I've been here and I finally got to finish, bro. Phenomenal work. I'm proud of you, bro. I absolutely am. It's a lot of people who put their content out here and it doesn't live up to the quota. This is something that you really need to sit down and read, man and woman. That's just my opinion personally. A lot of the things that he speaks on, we've spoke about on the show. So you're not going to hear something one day and not hear the next. He's really true to his word. So yeah, definitely go check him out, man. And if you need further assistance in that, y'all can reach out to me. I will make sure that you get in contact just in case. You know what I'm saying? Phenomenal job though.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
So what we gonna do tonight, man? We got a topic and we got a reaction. Which one y'all want to do first? You want to start off with the topic, or do you want to start off with the reaction video?
Well, with a title like "A Son Burns Down House Because Mom Kicked Him Out," you have to go with the reaction video. I mean, come on.
I agree.
All
I
right.
agree. I need to see this.
I got you covered. So
what is
we're
this
gonna start
dumpster
off
fire
with
you
that
put in front of
one,
our
and then
faces?
shout out to TikTok. You know, good old social media never fails, man. Never fails. They always find something for us to talk about. This is about a little over 2 minutes. I won't interrupt. I'll play it out so everybody get the full scale of it, and we'll pretty much go from there.
Lost her life in the worst way. Her son burnt down their house after she kicked him out for doing drugs. Let me explain. This woman, 18-year-old son, was in and out of jail for dealing narcotics. He also went to jail for stealing cars and domestic violence. One day, this mother got home from work and gang members knocked on her door looking for her son. This woman was scared to death because the gang members had weapons. She told the gang members her son wasn't home. When the gang members was leaving this woman's house, they called her out her name and threatened her son. When the mother looked out the window and seen the gang members was gone, she went and confronted her son and asked him, what the hell is going on? The son told the mother they was accusing him of stealing something. She wouldn't tell him what it was, but the mother put 2 and 2 together and she figured it had something to do with narcotics. The mother then had a long talk with her son. She told him if he's dealing with narcotics, she's going to have to put him out the house. 2 days after that conversation, gang members shot their house up. Law enforcement came out and did an investigation. The mother told law enforcement she believed her son was involved in gang activities and dealing with narcotics. Law enforcement tried to question this woman's son, but he wouldn't talk to the cops. When the son wouldn't cooperate with the cops and when he got back home, he told his mother he's not a snitch. She's trying to get him shot. This mother then made one of the toughest decisions she ever had to make in her life. She put her son out the house. Her son started crying and begging her, telling her he didn't have anywhere to go. She still put him out the house. When gang members shot this woman's house up, 2 windows was shot out. Bullet holes was all in the walls. Bullets even hit the refrigerator. This woman was terrified to live in that house. She started calling family and friends trying to gather up money to move, but she couldn't gather up any money to move, so she had to stay there. So that's why she made the decision to put her son out. 2 days after this woman put her son out, her house caught on fire at 2 o'clock in the morning. The neighbor's cameras caught her son putting gas all around their house and set her house on fire and fled the scene. The mother lost her life in a house fire. It took them 2 months to find their son and arrest him. He's serving life in prison. The son told detectives he set his mother's house on fire because she put him out, and he regret his decision.
Yeah, life in prison is not enough for that degenerate.
No.
So
I had
question.
so many.
Did the mother die in the house fire?
She did.
Yeah, there's a special place in hell for that kind of stupid.
Did it say his name? I was curious to see if I could find the article about it.
No, he didn't mention his name. Now if he mentioned it in the story, I never got to it. I might have to go back and double check.
I don't think they said it. I didn't.
Because sometimes nah, he didn't mention the name.
Okay.
He didn't mention the name. I would like to believe that the story, if it did go any further, it's in the description of the video, but that's neither here nor there. The whole thing. I believe you was getting ready to say something, Jason. I don't want to cut your wisdom.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I do have a couple of questions about. Yeah, I did have a couple of questions about this. Where do I go first? Based on what you saw, do you think this was a single parent home? Do you believe in the snitch code? Do you believe that she was wrong or right for kicking him out the house? I know there's a lot of unpopular opinions about kicking your children out or calling the police on your child if they commit offenses. Some people will protect their young to the very end. It don't really matter what the level of crime is. They'll still house them, clothe them, and all that, knowing that they are the cause of somebody else's pain and all that. So, like I said, I just had a whole lot of questions about that. Your initial thoughts, though. I mean,
Well, first of all, the engagement with gangs is definitely an indicator that he did not have a strong role model, because typically kids that don't have somebody strong to look up to typically go towards or are more likely to fall for the more parasitic type organizations, the types of organizations that don't really care about you, but like to give you the illusion that you're getting power and stuff by being a part of that group. And then also, yes, I do think parents reserve the right to kick their children out, especially when their child is an adult. And especially if the child is causing harm or very disruptive type of behaviors. For example, if they start vandalizing the property, if they're doing drugs on the property, if they're like stealing the parent's car and like taking crashing or whatever. If they're showing behaviors that make them a problem, I think parents do reserve the right to kick them out. As a mother, I probably in that position would seek help for him rather than just kick him out of the house. But I would be like, look, you have to go to this place and they're going to help you. You need to work on these behaviors. Like, this is unacceptable and you're not going to be able to be successful if you continue doing this stuff. I also wouldn't let him get to that point, but that's beside the point. There's a lot of I definitely support the mother and her actions, and I think it's extremely tragic that he was probably pressured or deluded somehow by the group he was with to commit these acts, and B, that he likely doesn't have the mental development enough to recognize his behaviors are basically going to become. I mean, maybe he did kind of have that idea, and maybe he was more the type that like live hard, die young, or whatever the quote is, live fast, die young. But yeah, there's definitely something wrong with him for him to choose that type of act. Like, that's very, very, very incredibly cruel, and it not very many humans are capable of doing that, because it is at least to take somebody's life in that case. It's rare that people murder using arson.
So, oh, did you mute my? Oh, sorry. Were you muting my mic?
I unmuted. I unmuted
Oh,
because
okay.
I could hear you. I could hear you typing.
Sorry, I'll mute myself from now on. I forgot to do that before. Yeah. So this this kind of thing is rather disturbing. I have to say. I do think it was a single parent home. I don't believe that there was a strong role model, and I don't believe that. I do believe that because of that, there wasn't enough emotional guidance given to the child. It's impossible for one person to fulfill both roles. The expressive leadership that is directly talked about from the leading man, and then the receptive leadership, which I will be covering in my following book, The Nurturing Woman. It's impossible for one person to do both roles. And in order for a child to be well adjusted, both influences need to be there in a child's life, especially a man's life, because he is going to grow up to become a future leader, to become a future contributor to society as a man. And the only way you can do that is if you have the right tools because of the right influence. And he didn't have that. So he turned to the wrong behaviors. And because his mom is most likely working a full-time job, exhausted at the end of the day, and unable to give him the time and attention that he needs, he's turning to extracurricular activities, getting himself in trouble, in and out of jail. The fact that he's still staying there even after he gets out of jail for domestic abuse and theft is a testament to her patience, which then is met at its limit when her home is then threatened. She has to take care of herself. Her son is an adult. Yes, she's going to say GTFO. The fact that she was willing to cooperate with the police against her son, fantastic. The fact that she was open and honest and urged her son to do the same, fantastic. The fact that there were consequences for not doing the same for her son, fantastic. But this all could have been, if things had been different, if he had the support that he needed, things could have been different. But could they have really? Because they are what they are. No point dwelling in the past. So he has what he has. And then he kills his mom. Don't think that was the intent. I think he was everything that was talked about shows that he had zero forethought or zero idea of long-term consequences. His entire life was about short-term gains, and that's it. And this is what you get when you focus on short-term gains. You get a life of shit. Because you bear no responsibility for your actions. You take no accountability for your behaviors. And you believe that everything else is responsible for giving you the life that you deserve. Man, you don't deserve shit. You don't deserve a damn thing. And
how dare you?
Oh, I dare. I'll say it again. You don't deserve shit. You only deserve what you earn. No, life doesn't owe you anything. And if you can't get that, well then, as they say in Citizen Kane, we get what he gets today. That's the way he wants it, so he gets it. And he can't be mad. He was the architect of his own downfall. I would say too many entitled people out there, because it's men and women. Sorry, for me, jerks is a masculine word. It refers to men. That and assholes I attribute mainly to men. So yes, there are too many entitled people out there. Entitled members of society who believe they deserve something that they have not earned. And so they F around and then they find out. I guarantee life in jail is going to be very short for him, especially if the gang has influence, because they probably have members on the inside. And all that they need to do is send one word, one fool to the jail cell to talk to the right gang member. You've got a visitor. And then say the right thing to the right person, and he goes where he really belongs. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. I yield the mic.
I think there needs to be a entire show dedicated specifically to the gang culture. I want to touch on that briefly here. This stream, this video ties into the conversation we had yesterday about emotional self-reliance. No one really knows or understands how I kind of string along these topics, but they have purpose. In my opinion, the gang culture is essentially nothing less, nothing more than a group of people who didn't have the proper guidance. So they sought it elsewhere. They created their own rules, their own laws, their own brotherhood, their own sisterhood, and it became what it became. And it's been made very popular by social media, by just society in general. And the gentleman who fell into it, he suffered because of this notion that a single parent household can maintain and properly guide a man into manhood and vice versa. And clearly that's not the case. That was an inaccurate assessment. And if you want to make an argument to say they are single parent households that can raise good, decent men, you can say that. But if you want to really do the numbers, you're not going to win that argument. The ratio is nowhere near in comparison to the ones that fail at it to the ones that succeed at it. Good. I'm glad she called the police on him. She should have been did it a long time ago. The very fact that he had men come to her property looking for him, it goes to show me, one, she didn't have eyes in the back of her head, but she knew that he was into something. This is the part right here where the father is supposed to be present, because there's only but so much a woman is going to be able to do for a boy, especially one that eventually is going to grow into his form, muscles. He's going to get taller. He's going to pick up weight. He's going to be challenging your authority. He's going to be more aggressive, more rebellious. There's only but so much your 5'2" ass is going to be able to do. And I'm not saying that directly to her, but in general, there's only but so much you're going to be able to do to correct the path that he is on. And it's unfortunate that her inability to figure out what the issue was and find a way to fix it so that he, for because of, this is going to sound so fucked up, but I gotta say it. a part of why he is the way he is because of how she was. Because if she hadn't gone down the road that she went, and she would have gotten some things in order, if there were choices that were maybe nullified before it got to the extremes that it did, like Jason said, this could have been a different story. I don't put all of this on her, because at this particular point, he still made the decisions to go out here and do what he did. However, she could have minimized his options. She could have positioned herself in a space that he wouldn't be seeking something outside of the home for what he wasn't getting in the house, because whatever he wasn't getting in the house, she couldn't provide, because she didn't have it in her enough or at all to give it the way that he needed it. This is why this whole emotional self-reliance thing, imprinting conversation is important, because based on your environment or the scenario that is put in front of you, you can either become someone like him, become someone who is a part of a whole tribe of lost men and women who look to the streets to be the value of the culture, or you're going to find that somebody in your household puts a stop to this discombobulated idea that drugs, sex, being just completely reckless emotionally, mentally, is better than having core values that actually mean something. I'll yield the mic for now, though.
Sadly, it's not so much that they like it. From my experience and from my observation, it seems as though it's not that they're not aware of the other things that they have available to them. It's just they've kind of checked out, and they don't really seek insight into their lives. They don't really put a lot of effort into understanding why they're drawn to those particular activities. Because to get out of habitual behavior or behavior that comes out of impulse, you have to put a lot of thought into it initially to understand why you're having those feelings, why you're drawn to those types of behaviors, what triggers them, what people might encourage them. And so there's a lot that goes into behavior change. And when people get into gangs and get involved in that type of high, fast-paced life, they have already, like, this is where the emotional imprinting would come in. They've already had a life that has basically modified their brain structure, modified their behaviors and their personality, the way that they act, because of the experiences they may have had. A lot of people that join gangs have already witnessed a murder by the time, or a death, before they got into that. They often, as we were saying, often come from a broken household. A lot of them have parents that are already into drugs. A lot of them have already gotten kicked out of high school or even middle school. And many of them have already been arrested or have committed acts like vandalizing their own house, already starting to use drugs. And so by the time they really get entrenched in a gang, they're already kind of set up to fail in that manner, because everything around them that they've put around them now guides them towards a specific lifestyle. Because really, as people have found out, even trying to get out of gangs, once you're involved in the gang life and you're associated with a certain area, it can be very challenging to get out of it because a lot of them don't look very kindly towards people that choose to abandon them. And then also, if you end up in other gang territory and you have tattoos or something like that, you say something, you can trigger other gangs to come after you. And so my husband's cousin, I think, he's currently in prison, and we hear a lot about that type of stuff because he's in the Oakland area, or he was in the Oakland area. So yeah, he talks about that and how many of them have bragged about crimes that they committed when they were like 6 or 7. So a lot of the time these people get started very early in life. It's the thing that they know, the life they know. Oh.
So as you were talking, Sydney, something you triggered something for me. There's an author who is also a priest, and he has taken it upon himself to basically be a priest for those who he's a mentor for those who have left the gang life, who want to better themselves. I forget his name. He's a white pasty dude who who's overweight and just he's in California. His Spanish is exceptional, which is good for the work that he does. And he's written 3 books, and they're so amazing with helping to really identify what these kids who have been in this gang have been longing for. And what they were searching for when they went into these gangs, never found. But because of grace, because of one person's desire to see past what they've done and see the real person, it has made all of the difference. And it's pissing me off that I can't find these books. 1 second.
Was it Father Greg Boyle?
Yep, that's it. Father Greg Boyle. Exactly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But working with these gangs or gang members who have reformed and have chosen to live a life away from these gangs, and seeing how their lives have changed, how the desire for one person to give a damn has changed the way, has basically given them hope, changed how they see life, and changed how they see themselves and how they interact with others. And it's just beautiful. I've read 2 of the books, 2 of the 3 books that he's written. And man, just they're absolutely amazing. And then I hear stories about this, about how the reality is most kids don't have a Father Greg Boyle in their corner. How most of them, they are trying their best to survive. They go to gangs in order to feel some sort of belonging. All they find is protection. And protection is not safety. And so because all they have is protection, they keep making stupid choices that bring them further and further into survival mode. And further into the life of creating dangerous situations, because it's all they know. They only know safety from minute to minute. And because of that, they have to, they're constantly reacting. They have no proactive sense about them. It's all reactive and based on assumptions. Most of them are bad. And there's also the need to chase highs because they're escaping things that they can't escape, and escapism doesn't work. And you know the drill. we're talking about all that good stuff. But yeah, it just breaks my heart when I hear about these stories. I mean, his actions were because of a long list of decisions that were made long before he was born, and then the decisions that came as a result of how he interacted with those previous decisions. And not once was there a safety net or someone who thought about thinking beyond themselves to say, hey man, it looks like you need help. Not one person could do that. And it's sad. I yield the mic.
I think you're muted still.
Yeah, I just caught it. Just caught it. I got you covered. Thank you, though. I want to know how many people really know what it looks like to experience emotional imprinting, what the negative side effects are, what the transformations look like. What you both described in the last 15, 20 minutes or so, it's like a nice mixed drink or a nice cocktail of different personas that a person takes on in the result of it. But I don't think a lot of people really understand what it is or what it really resembles, just based off of either you see people with short tempers, they don't really know how to process rejection properly, or they don't understand, well, look, we are at a defining moment here. We're either going to take 5 paces going this way, turn and then shoot, or we're going to just continue to walk and go our own way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made me really think about Bonanza, like a Western, where they had that shootout at the end of the day. Like, I'll see you at 12 o'clock, 12 noon, sir. And then they get there, and then it's like, all right, you turn your back to him, you turn your back to him, and then you take 5, 6 paces, and then it kind of reminds me of that. And I don't really think people really understand why you really need to have some sense of control over yourself, why you need to get to the root of the issue as to why you act the way you do, or why you suck in relationships, or why you suck in friendships, or why you just are inadequate with carrying uncomfortable conversations that require you to be vulnerable. This was another prime example of it. The gang portion of it was just a nice addition to the already destructive warpath that we've all put ourselves on by not knowing how to deal with our mess. You know what I'm saying? And I think both of you gave some strong cases, some very strong cases.
One of the things that it made me think of as well, I watched a documentary probably it's around November, and it was talking about people who joined certain white focused groups. I don't want to get you banned, but they joined those types of extremist groups, and they got out. They chose to leave, and so they were interviewing these people to understand what it's like in these groups, and how they were able to get out, why they left. And a lot of the people that were interviewed talked about how they joined because they felt powerless. They felt empowered by being with people, and they felt like they had a greater purpose or a sense of direction by joining these groups, and they did not have that from their families. A lot of them cited parents with alcohol issues, people with parents with drug issues, parents that just weren't there, split family households, and being tossed around from house to house. It's very similar to what we were talking about in gang groups as well. It seems like in general, the types of extreme behaviors are their way of. This is just a theory that I've heard from a different psychology book. I forgot what the book was called. It was from college. But there's a theory that was being developed that people commit really big, large actions like murder, like arson, stuff like that, because they're trying to drown out the pain. They're trying to bury the pain with other things that are like they kind of are distraction from the initial hurt. Because the thing with emotional imprinting is most of this time period, we're not really aware of it. We're not conscious of how our environment is affecting us. We're still developing a lot of those skills, and we won't have the ability to start understanding until I believe it's either beginning of middle school, like 10, 11, 12, or if it might be a little bit later. But you're basically developing your ability to understand your emotions. And if you don't have external sources that can help guide you, you're not going to do very well, because you're going to stay at the same level as when your support basically dropped off. So that's why kids can still do all right if they have that one teacher that helps to guide them, or they have a priest to help them along, or maybe they're even on their own, like interested in the material and read the information. Like, you can do it for yourself, but you do have to have a trigger where you realize that this is necessary, that you have to do a behavior change, and B, you have to have the resources to understand how to manage the emotions that you're feeling. And you won't be able to fix the so-called mother wound unless you first realize you have that problem, and then agree with yourself to actually work on it meaningfully. So like, back to one of the things you had said, people won't really be aware of the emotional imprinting that's happening to them. That's very subconscious, and it really takes a conscious effort to understand yourself, but it's only looking back.
So, are you talking about the destructive coping mechanisms? Was that the term you were looking for?
I think so. It kind of like there's a point in time where people are able to become self-aware and like understand that they can control their emotions, and they can control the behaviors in response to those emotions. I know it happens somewhere around puberty, but I didn't remember exactly when that was.
Oh, okay. So yeah, what you're talking about is a meta-awareness. And for those who don't understand the term, meta-awareness is basically being aware of your awareness. It is a thing that separates human beings from every other mammal, or every other species, really, of every other walk of life, is the fact that we have the capacity to be aware of the fact that we are aware. And that is what allows for profound behavior change. Shifts in behavior happen because of that meta-awareness. And oftentimes, there are only four real ways that a person can develop that meta-awareness. The first is a need for survival, something that happens so profound that it knocks a person out of what Napoleon Hill calls the hypnotic rhythm. The fact of just going through life in hypnotized state. And everyone does it. We all do it even me, someone is intelligent and clever as I am, oftentimes goes through my own hypnotic rhythm at times. And it takes something, some kind of jarring or some kind of event that is outside the ordinary. For people who have destructive patterns, it often takes a traumatizing event or near traumatizing event to wake them up out of that hypnotic rhythm. I guess a routine could be something similar. A routine is a type of hypnotic rhythm, but hypnotic rhythm, when I say hypnotic rhythm, this is a series of routines that forms a habit. So if you've ever read Outwitting the Devil, you would understand that this concept. If you haven't, read Outwitting the Devil. It is a necessary book. Every person should be reading it. I don't know why more people haven't. I don't know why it's not required reading it at 8th grade, but it's a book you need to read. The second way is through the what Steve Porges calls, who is the psychological researcher who came up with the polyvagal theory. What he calls the absolute focused attention from an attending person wanting to see to your emotional needs, or what he just calls attending. That's the second way. The third way is through some kind of mentor or some kind of opportunity that will create that wake up. And then the fourth one, it could only be 3. I could have been overselling it, but those are the 3 that I know of. The fourth, hey, it's probably out there. I just haven't thought of it right now. So without one of those stimuli, you keep on doing what you've always done because it's what you know. If you don't have something that's going to wake you up or something that helps you become aware, the fourth one is comparison. The comparative nature of something that is better than what you have, where you're forced to compare to what you do have, and either see the disparity or want to ignore because it's what you don't have. Now, if it's something that you can get access to easily, this creates a much better way of being able to, again, take you out of the hypnotic rhythm and reevaluate, go into meta-analysis or meta-awareness. Well, without the meta-awareness, you can't possibly change the way that you are going. This is a fact. This has been demonstrated time and time again. If you go on a certain path and you have created a certain way of behaving, it creates kind of a rut, and you kind of go down the path of least resistance because it's easy. If you have a chance of being able to interrupt that pattern and evaluate where you are versus where you want to be, you see the disparity, and you're able to reliably and repeatedly make changes so that you change the rut and it goes in a different direction, you have an opportunity of being able to change your thought patterns and also your behaviors. I'm going to yield the mic. I feel like I've been jabbering.
I just want to make a quick comparison. For imprinting, one of the best ways that you can remember it is kind of like with a bird, how people say like, oh, don't handle a bird when it's a baby because you'll imprint on it. Basically, that means that if you handle the bird and you basically raise the bird yourself, it's never going to actually learn how to be a bird. And so if you tried to release it, it would die because it wouldn't know what to do. It would just kind of expect things to be fed to it and stuff like that. So that's kind of, in a very small scale way, what's happening to people is they're being raised a certain way. And so when they're thrust out into the world, they don't have anything to orient them, or some people don't have things to orient them because they've never been guided. And so they don't know what to do. And so those are the people that are most vulnerable to joining those types of groups, because they don't have anything to orient them. And so it's easy to pull them in and say, hey, we'll orient it for you.
I'm gonna give a caveat to that. I believe that you are correct in most instances, except the analogy of the analogy of the baby bird. I almost aspirated my water. So
That
the
bad.
analogy. Okay, I think we're back. The analogy of the baby bird is very good. The only difference is if you, as the person who is caring for that baby bird, understands the nature of birds, and you raise that bird with that nature in mind, forcing it into a behavior that is more in line with its bird nature, then you do the job that you are supposed to do. But, and here's a big but, I cannot lie. It's one of those things where you have to have the emotional regulation and the emotional discipline. Mel got it. You have to have the emotional awareness to be willing to not smother or not care for or not rescue it, thinking that it cannot live without you. And one of my favorite poems is by Khalil Gibran called, or his prose, I guess, called The Prophet. And in The Prophet, there's this one section that says, speak to me about children. And he goes on to say that your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of light longing for themselves. They come through you, but are not of you, are not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you. You can house their bodies, but not their thoughts. They have their own thoughts. You can give them your love, but not your souls. For their souls, you can house their. Sorry, you can give them your love, but not your thoughts. They have their own thoughts. You can house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls live in the place of tomorrow, where you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You can strive to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you. And parents don't understand this. For whatever reason, they've been taught to believe you're my child. You do what I say. I own you. You don't own shit. These children are being robbed of their autonomy. And unless we go on to remind our children that you are responsible for developing your life, I can give you the tools you need to succeed, but you have your own mind. You have your own way of being. All that I can do is be your steward for a time. But you have, once that time is up, you have to make your own choices. They do. Absolutely, they do. Your child is not your puppy. Your puppy is not your child. Good Lord. All right, now I'm going to stop talking.
Cooked. Everybody absolutely cooked. A lot of adults are not handling their children properly at all. They're raising them up on social media, AI,
Garbage
tutorials,
videos, entertainment videos.
Brain rot.
Yes, pretty much. You know how you can tell? Just by the mannerisms, just by the way people communicate and talk. It's pretty clear. You know it's bad when your daughter or your mother talks like the daughter, or the father sounds like the 15, 16-year-old. Like when you're literally emulating a era that you did not grow up in, that is bad. And in response to that analogy, which I thought was pretty cool, even, how can I say this? It's like that your child is a human being, but you still don't even know how to instill in them the things that make them human for some reason. Like maybe I'm tripping here. I think it goes back to what you were saying about their autonomy being stripped away from them. Because if what you're saying is, if the person has all of his faculties and he understands the nature of the animal, then he can do right by the animal that he's raising. Then why wouldn't he know how to apply the same method to his offspring? That's ridiculous to me to even think that you could take better care of an animal than your own person. Which, that whole puppy thing, yeah, people absolutely love their dogs. They love their animals, their cats. Take them to the vet, everything.
The biggest problem that I see is that adults are looking for someone to comfort them. And so they get a dog and they want the dog to comfort them. The dog doesn't know how to do that. The dog's a fucking dog. The dog just dog things. The dog acts like a dog. But so then you decide, oh, I'm going to have a baby. Are you out of your mind? Because the baby is a potential human being that's going to be independent of you. But instead, you fill their emotional capacity with toxic beliefs of, I need you to validate me. I need you to give up everything that you think that you are, all the potential that you could have, everything that you could be, because I need you to validate me. This is the most self-centered, screwed up thing that a parent could ever. This is the definition of child abuse. This is, and stop. This is pure child abuse. And a parent that believes that this is acceptable, a parent that decides that they're going to live their life because they think that this is normal, you don't deserve to have kids. Get your tubes tied. That's all I'll say about that.
Really.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the we could even do a whole episode on pets and what people do that are ridiculous with pets. But I see people all the time that are literally foregoing having children just because they say, well, dog is basically the same thing. Like, the dog is our baby. And people swear up and down, like, oh yeah, I can talk to my dog. I can like my dog understands me, and all of these other, and the number of people that I've heard, I used to work at an animal shelter. So I heard a lot of funny reasons why people would adopt their animals. And I've heard it so many times where they're like, oh, well, if I get in, like, if there's an emergency, they can go get help. I'm like, okay, this is not Lassie. There are some occasions where a dog will help you. They go and get help or whatever. But I promise you, those are statistically low. Do not rely on your dog to get help if your house is on fire or if you're getting burgled or whatever, because these days 90% of dogs are just going to hide under the couch or run away. Like, there are so many dogs that die in house fires because the cat or the dog or the animal is so afraid of what's happening that they go and hide and they can't find them and they can't get out. Your dog is not going to save you. Like, do not get a dog thinking that that's going to be the person that will be there. See the person. It will be the one to do anything for you. And I've seen this happen with my friends where they were pregnant, and so they're like, all right, we're going to get a dog now because then the puppy and the child can grow up together. And I always laugh at that one too, because to me, having a child is so much work. Why would you want to add on to that by getting another organism that needs to go outside regularly, and you basically like doubled up on the diapers or all the other work that it takes to raise a being, and they won't grow out of that stage. They're permanently the dogs are permanently a 2-year-old. So you're still going to have to deal with all of that over time while you're dealing with like a 4-year-old and then a 5-year-old. And so I think people are, as we were saying, like they're kind of replacing humans and they're turning to their pets for comfort instead. And people are getting lonelier and lonelier. Obviously, it's not helping. It's maybe it relieves it a little bit, but it's not solving our problem because people have more pets than ever before, and people are still unhappy. People still report that they feel like they don't have friends. They don't have a connection to their community. They don't involve themselves in very many like public types of programs or events. Like there's still people that participate in sports and other outside activities, but it's at a record low. I think it peaked in like the early 2000s or 2010s. But people are not getting social. And that's one of the reasons people give for having a dog. Like, oh yeah, I get to go outside. I get to go to parks and meet people. But the dog parks that I go to, most of the people are just kind of standing off by themselves, just staring off into space, like, or texting on their phone. They're not actually becoming more social just with the dog. So I think it's an illusion of feeling like there's someone for you, but deep down they're still lonely.
You know, I'm not gonna say this is for everybody, but in my honest opinion, a lot of people who buy and purchase a whole lot of animals, they do it so that they can run away from dealing with what's going on with them. Now we can sit up here and blame everybody else for our shortcomings, the people that we interact with, but a lot of that stuff got to do with us. We bring people into our world, stuff happens, it reconfigures some things with us. We don't know how to deal with it and process it. And so you go to other things to kind of cushion or make you feel better temporarily, even though it doesn't really help at all. And I don't know, you can be in denial all you want, but it's not going to change the reality. You can have a whole zoo, but the animal is not going to give you human interaction. You're not going to be able to get what you want out of a cat, the same thing that you will be able to get out of a human. I guess you're thinking the dog won't cheat on you, or the dog won't lie on you. Dogs are loyal, because they come back to you, and this, that, and the third. I guess that's the logic that you're going off of. Well, there are stray animals that run away. There are animals that aren't domesticated. They would rather be in the wild. And even if you are able to keep them home, that still is not going to change anything. When you have a long day, You need a back rub. What you going to do? You going to get the dog to jump on your back, run your shower, cook your meal.
There are dogs that have been trained to do all this shit, and people think that by having a furry little servant, they're like, "Oh, I'm taken care of." No, you're getting someone just to do tasks for you, and you are still as lonely as you started. And I would disagree. I think this is for everyone because while many people might not be the tragic cat lady or dog person, it's still the idea that personifying a pet or expecting that someone or something else is going to fill the void for your lack of emotional attention for yourself is going to be the thing that saves you. It's not. The only thing that will save you is for you to take responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for yourself. You have to do that first. Everything falls in line after that. I say to my book, you have 5 controllables. Your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your decisions, your actions. That's it. 5 things. If you can't manage those 5 things, you lose.
Yeah, one of the things I used to watch those animal cop shows back when I was a kid. And oftentimes the people that they showed up for to because of neglect or abuse situations, most of the time they were basically animal hoarders. They had a bunch, way too many for whatever property they were on, like 15 dogs, or some guy had like over 100 domestic rats in his house. Or I think it actually was 1,000. But anyway, like they've lost control of their entire life because of all these animals, and they often are very hesitant and grief-stricken to get rid of these animals, even though many of the animals that they're hoarding don't have the connection capacity that they think they have. And every time the people that are working with them tell them that it's a distraction. They're collecting these animals because they can have this list in their head that we'll have to do these things first. And it becomes an avoidance strategy where you don't have to tackle the other things in your life because, the animals matter first. Like I do everything for the animals first. And so they let their own life fall apart because they get to use that as an excuse. Like, I had to do this for the animals. I had to do this for the dogs. And so I think a lot of people, it's almost the same as the organizations that people will join when they're in an emotionally neglected position where they're basically looking for acceptance. And a pet is going to give you basically, unless you have a dog that bites and is scared to be touched or whatever, you're mostly going to be getting unconditional love. Like it'll basically be happy to see you all the time because you're its companion and you feed it and you give it the things that it needs. And so of course it's going to be very excited when it sees you. But a lot of people think that that's enough. Like, I have my dog or I have my cat or I have my rabbits or whatever. And so I don't need to go out because I can just spend time with them. But people don't realize what they're missing out because when you don't have the opportunity to have conversations or to ask questions about other people in a way that can help you understand people more and yourself more, these missed interactions do tremendous damage on our health. There's a reason why people with agoraphobia or other disorders that keep them home all the time, why their mental health declines. They need people around to help them. And to support them. And I think a lot of people have kind of either are too scared to. I don't know if it's like an anxiety thing where people are just so anxious about the world and all of the necessities of life, like, you have to be wearing a certain makeup, you have to smell a certain way, you have to look a certain way. Or if it's literally just people don't care enough to do it. Like they're so addicted to so many other things that it's just not a priority to them anymore, and they'd rather be alone. I've heard a lot of that lately, where people are choosing voluntarily to be solitary and isolated, and that just speaks to the damage that what all of these factors have done to people's psyches.
The problem is, one second. The problem is that people confuse dependability with connection. You can't connect with your dog. It's a dog. I mean, think about the absurdity of that. Oh, my dog is my confidant. Yeah, because they can't talk. They probably don't even understand everything you're saying. You can unload, you can trauma dump on your dog. Your dog is like, I gotta pee. They don't care. They can't relate to you. And there's the problem, is the lack of relatability. If you can't be related to, your ability to grow goes out the window. Because there's no way for someone to challenge your point of view. There's no one to say, I get it, or it sounds hard, or I'm here for you. I got your back. I think you're full of shit, and I think that you can do better. You don't have anyone that can tell you these things, which you need. A dog can't do that for you. A horse will never do that for you. A rat, screw that. These are creatures that have their own purpose, that have their own way of being. Human beings require other human beings to thrive for a reason. Wolves will never form a pack with a lizard.
They'll eat it.
They will eat it, exactly. They will eat it. It is food. For us to want to form these types of connections with creatures that cannot and will not ever truly understand who we are. They can't relate because, one, they're not human. So right there, it goes out the window. They can be the smartest thing out there, but without the common reference, the ability to relate goes out the window. Then you've got the lack of awareness, the lack of meta-awareness. Yes, a dog might be smart. A dog might have critical thinking skills. But are they a creature that can understand the fact that they understand? No. It makes it impossible for them to be able to form any kind of real connection or sense of growth. And they're about as useful as a rock, as Ann is basically saying. You might as well get a pet rock because it will be as dependable. Actually, a pet rock's better because there's nothing that you have to do in order to care for it, feed it. Doesn't have to go on walks. If you're walking a rock, then we have to call mental services, because now it's just you're going out of your way to prove how crazy you are. But anything that is outside of you, and anything that is not human is outside of you, outside of your experience, is going to give you a less a lower quality of experience than you will ever get with another human being. I yield the mic.
Yo, it's so much here that you can really get into. We ain't got the time to do it. I just started to think about something that Sydney has said in the comment section. You funny as hell for that. Anna, you're right. You're absolutely right. Jason, you're right. They don't shut up. I don't want you talking back. I don't want to be challenged on nothing. I don't want to hear. Don't tell me no. Don't tell me I'm wrong about this. Don't suggest another option. Don't say, well, maybe you might want to do this instead of. I don't want to hear that. I don't know. I'm good. You put you back in your kennel. go outside, run around in the front yard, take a piss somewhere, and then come back in the house. That's what they want. They want to just be able to direct and go on about their way so they don't have to deal with the interaction portion, which it comes down to you just got some stuff that you ain't trying to deal with. That's
The
probably
irony,
why a lot of people, you're sitting here wondering why you sitting around here wondering why you're alone, you don't have nobody, or maybe you're just like, man, I don't have no friends, I don't even have a circle. Well, I know why you don't. What you was about to say though?
yeah, the irony is that the amount of hubris that exists in a person who has that kind of mentality, the amount of self-serving, self-centeredness is disgusting. They are not willing to challenge their own beliefs about the world, their own understanding, which is clearly flawed. They would much rather live in an echo chamber. That is how insecure and insignificant these people are. And they've made themselves insignificant because they've clung to their insecurities. Your fear will make you insignificant. It will make you irrelevant because no one gives a shit about what you want unless you give them a reason to do so. Because what you want is also in line with what others want. But without that, no one's going to want to interact with you because you're self-serving. But people want to believe that they are the best thing that's ever been born. There's 8 billion people on this planet, bro. There's no way you can be the best. Especially if you're living in a double wide.
Bazinga.
My final thoughts here. Rewind back to the beginning of this stream. We covered probably 5 to 6 different things throughout this entire show. But what I want to leave on is the reality. And the reality is nobody's here, nobody's perfect. Everybody has something that they deal with. At your tender age, you should not be afraid to confront your personal demons. You should not have a problem. In fact, I dare and challenge you to walk into the next day or even the next 5 minutes openly questioning everything that you know. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with being wrong about what you thought you knew. There's nothing wrong with not being emotionally incorrect in your walk. Like a lot of people have been imprinted on in a negative way, and you might feel a certain type of way about it. I guarantee a lot of people are upset and very bitter towards specific situations and people because of their part in how they ended up, and you're holding on to it. Not even just, sexual prowess or interactions and things. I'm talking about how maybe you met a succession of people who made you gave you that high, and then they stripped it away from you, or your upbringing was kind of like teeter-tottering. Whatever it was, it's okay. It's all right. Because the bright side is you are aware of it now. You know what's happening. And if you don't know, there are some indicators. And a long list of them have been laid out for you here. Sydney and Jason have pretty much put an entire blueprint and a schematic of things to look out for, what is required. You've gotten all W's, the who, what, when, where, and why. You got all of them. I think it was neatly compacted within an hour, 30 minutes. And I hope this helps somebody. I always get something from these conversations. You know, brings me back to earth. I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to be off-putting where like it's like, damn, you just swear you got it all. Like, well, shit, you don't need me around you then. I don't want to be that person. I still like people. I just don't. It's just some stuff that y'all do, man. Just like, but I'll let y'all, if y'all got any final thoughts before we close out. Salutes to everyone that's watching. Appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. I'm gonna turn the mic over to Sydney, Jason.
One of the things I wanted to mention before we go is the interconnectedness of your awareness, of your actions, your behaviors, your mannerisms. Once you start to work on one small area of yourself, a lot of other things will start to come together. A lot of people don't consider that your emotional state, the way you handle your emotions, will also reflect into your environment. If you don't have a handle on your inner emotional state, you won't have a very good handle on your external state as well. You'll be, maybe you're dealing with like chronic laziness and you end up like your house gets messed up, or maybe you're so angry that you break things in your house. And that is one of the ways that you can help yourself, by slowly starting to organize pieces of your life and realizing the reasons that you got behind in those areas. That can do a tremendous amount of that can help you a lot in your journey to improve your mental state. I do this with myself. Ever since I was a kid, I've struggled with hoarding. I did not have a very good connection with the parents that adopted me, not to mention the fact that adopted children typically have these issues because of the separation from their natural mother. And so I've had to do a lot of work on being aware of where my collecting comes from, what emotions trigger those episodes of collecting, why I tend to keep certain, why I tend to collect certain items and the emotions behind that. And so it takes a lot of work. That I think that's one of the things that keeps people from making the efforts to get past the emotionally imprinted issues, because it does take a lot. You do have to adjust a lot of small aspects of your life, and that ends up kind of accumulating into a larger change. And one of the best pieces of advice that I've always went with is one step at a time. Even if it feels like everything is in disarray, just like clean a counter in your kitchen, or do a single load of laundry, or do just one simple, easy thing, and strive to keep doing one thing every day. Make your life better in a small way, because eventually that'll accumulate into a habit of productivity. And productivity is really what we need to embody when we're trying to make really big changes in our life, especially when it's been so heavily ingrained in us. So to anybody watching, like, don't feel bad if it feels overwhelming right now, because as long as you keep going and you keep making an effort, eventually you'll find a pathway through whatever you're working through, as long as you keep pushing through it.
I'm going to keep mine short. Get my book. Go to relatum.com. Get my book. It'll serve you well. And it's like, well, why is he plugging his book now? Well, it's because it's applicable. So yeah, get the book, read it, take the personality test. You'll be glad that you did.
Absolutely. And do me a solid. Make sure if you're not following the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe. All platforms. We live every day. The open mics are on Friday. If you enjoy this type of content and these type of conversations, you definitely need to pull up and join us more, because we do this all the time. It's always chill. And yeah, definitely go check out my man's book, bro. I'm trying to tell you, it's worth the read compared to a lot of the crap that they got out here on YouTube. You would definitely be making a real investment here. We're about to get up out of here. But damn. Do me a solid. Before we go.
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button.
If y'all need any information, reach out. Hold on, let me put this up real quick. Before we close out of here. This is what y'all need to go look for. I'm gonna give y'all a second. This is what y'all need to go look for. I will have it in the description, just in case anybody wants to spin back on this one. For those watching from Facebook or Twitter, do me a solid, repost this live stream out so more people can see it. These are the type of discussions that we need to have more of. Not all the gossipy, messy crap that we constantly see every single day. Outside of that, man, it's all love. I appreciate everybody for taking time out to hang with us. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. Hold on, let me see. Hold on a second. Right on. We up out of here though, man. Y'all take it easy.